Thanks for coming tonight. I'm very honored to be here. My name is Stefanie, and I started this Miss Balthasar's Laboratory group. It's a place where we play with electronics and experiment with hardware. And we try to reuse old devices and old electronic tools that are broken. I started this because I'm really interested in how to build new connections between humans and computers that are more intuitive and more sensations. It's not like that we have to adapt to the keyboard and the computer, but the computer adapts to my behavior and my output. And because I was always the only girl in interaction labs and in labs that are there for people to develop such things, I felt a little lonely and I was looking for other people doing similar things. So I started, I need this clip to go forward with my slideshow. Thank you. So I started to give workshops and meetings for people who are interested in the same thing. But I found out that the harder I tried and the many people tried to connect from interaction design, from informatics, from art schools, from design schools, the people who came were always male participants. So I started to wonder, why is that? Is it because it's just too difficult, or is it because, I don't know, because it's just not for us? Or why is it that the most participants in the workshops are male? So I asked them, hey, my friends, for example, why don't you show up? It's fun, we tinker around, we do creative stuff, we play, it's very easy and fun. And they always said, yeah, no, you work with electronics, I'm sure you do robots and cars and stuff like that. And actually they were right. Most people, like most male participants, when they come first and see microcontrollers and electronics and circuits, they want to make a robot or they want to make a little car that moves remotely or something like that. So I felt like, okay, this is already kind of defined of how technology should be used. And if we want to change the perception of women about technology, there has to be a change in the culture that evolves around technology. So I was thinking about, okay, if that's the case, how can we get more girls into it? How can we go about it? So I started groups that are only for women or people who call themselves women, like trans, and female participants. And in the end, it was like that they came and they looked at the electronics tools and the devices. And first they didn't know what the hell to do with it. But then after 2 or 3 hours, just getting rid of the hesitations and inhibitions, they had very unorthodox and really fun ideas and very innovative approaches with these sensors and microcontrollers and electronic circuits. So yeah, I think there is some kind of invisible censorship in the outer world that keeps women from using technology to solve their problems or develop technology to solve their problems, or to be creative or articulate themselves. And this invisible censorship is sometimes also self-censorship because they stop themselves from being a technician or an engineer. So why is that? I went to a hackerspace. A hackerspace is a place where people meet in order to share tools and share their experiences, but also to collaborate on tech-related projects. And the one that I was in for about a year every day is called MetaLab. You have one here in Bratislava as well. But MetaLab is a hackerspace in Vienna, in the center of Vienna. And people there are really lovely. I really made a lot of friends, and it's a very nice community that share a laser cutter and an electronics workshop and a wood workshop. And it's a lot of people who make startups there because you have free internet, and it's just about 200 people who sit there and tinker around on projects. The thing is that they try to be very democratic and very open. It's all about open source and sharing code and sharing tools. But in the end, it's very exclusive. In this place, MetaLab, it's 98% men. So of the 200 women, there were like 200 men, there were like 4 women. And I tried, when I was there for like a year or more, I realized that the reason is not because women are not interested in tools, but because there's a certain culture. Like they eat certain stuff, they drink certain stuff, They play certain games. I don't know. They have very phallic toys. And they code at night. Sometimes they have very different day-night rhythms than other people. So a lot of girls say, oh, it stinks here, I don't go in. Or there are just little things they think, okay, this is not for me. This is just not the way I am, because they judge on very superficial behavior codes and items and objects that they see there in these hacker spaces. So I tried to get women to lose their fear to actually go in there and change things, and not only to change things, but also to lose their fear to use electronics and to also break it, to not be afraid of electronics, to not use it in the way it's supposed to be used, but to open it, reverse engineer it, take old computers, look inside what's in there. I mean, there are secretaries who've been working in offices for 30 years and they've never opened their computer, although they work on it like 40 hours a week. So we try to lose respect and demystify in these women-only and trans-only groups what technology actually could be and how it could be defined. So we try to find new words, also new names for technological parts, because some are very male, like, I don't know, there's this microcontroller that's called Arduino, so we call it Arduina, which makes it, it's ridiculous, but for some people it makes it easier to deal with it. If also the color, I mean, we are really hard-coded as children, as female children, to play with things or wish for things that are pink or whatever, and if something is black or blue, it's like, okay, this might not be something for me, it might not be fun for me. So we really try to change the whole significance of the symbol level of the whole. So yeah, it's a kind of counterculture that we try to create. We meet every week, but also in different cities, where I give workshops to people who are artists, but also informatics people or designers, architects, all kinds of people who want to work with technology or whose lives are influenced by technology. Because if women are not participating in the creation of tech and development of tech, if they're only consumers, if they just consume technology as they do every day, then they miss out on really changing big parts of our society that are influenced and mediated by technology. If you think of the way we communicate with Skype or mobile phones, or the way that we navigate through our world or urban space with GPS, or the way we orientate ourselves in our world with the internet, or certain ways of accumulating data or being exposed to information. So I think it's really important that women are also part of this field. As I said before, the thing is called Miss Balthasar's Laboratory, and we meet regularly, but I also go to different places now to give workshops and try to create networks so women can teach each other what they already know and also get courage about what they already know. Because sometimes if I ask someone to give a workshop, she says, oh no, I don't know how to do this, although I know very well that she does it since 10 years and she's really good at it. So these workshops where people share their knowledge, it also helps them to know what they know. And it helps others to not feel so hesitant if they see someone else doing it. If I never took apart a mobile phone and reused the motors or reused the speakers, then it's very hard for me to imagine. But if I see someone doing it and being like me, then I think, oh, she is like me, I could do it too. So the role model function is very important in our workshops. What we create in the workshops is usually not a new business plan or a new product that goes to the market. We are more interested in building playful platforms where people can just come up with fun ideas and creative, crazy ideas. And we do little interactive installations, art installations. We use a very simple technology, which is this microcontroller called Arduino or Arduina. It has several analog and digital inputs and outputs. So you can attach, for example, some kind of sensor to it that senses the temperature or the heartbeat or movement in the space, like acceleration or whatever you want to measure. And then you translate this data into some other output. For example, it could be an animation that's controlled by it, it could be sound, It could be some motors that move in a certain way. And in the ideal case, it doesn't end with input-output, but in the ideal case, it becomes some dynamic that you as a user of this thing that we create are in a conversation and you start to articulate yourself and express yourself through this kind of platform and interface. So we try to create stories and the technology is more like a magical device and like a thinking object that's acting with us to enable us to express our needs and express our feelings. So as I said before, for me it's really important that people have access to new tools, that they dare to use them, that they dare to develop them for themselves, to not be just consumers who get something, then it has to function or not, but actually try to understand them, look behind it. It's not a black box, but really try to find out what they want to do with it. So this is something I wanted to share with also people in these other countries. And one of the countries that I did a workshop in was Damascus, Syria. So this was a group in New York where we used old garbage and electronics. But this is, sorry, I'm a little behind in my slides. Yeah, this is the open source workshop we did in Syria. So in Syria, of course, the Secret Service was very suspicious about what the hell these girls do. And they took some of our microcontrollers. And there were also some problems because we couldn't download this free open source software because there was a boycott on the website from the American side. And also we had problems because there was no internet and people had really bad computers. And of course the computers had cracked Windows versions that are free, but you can't change the code. So there were a lot of obstacles, but in the end it was like one of the best workshops ever because the people in the workshop were extremely smart, extremely dedicated and committed. And we wanted to do it 3 days, but we ended up 8 days because we couldn't stop. And actually I had planned to do small interfaces as I described before, like having sensors and some output of motor movement or animation. And I thought it would be like a little exhibition at the end with the stuff on the table, but it ended up being really spatial, huge installations because they had so many ideas of how to use this technology. So we had, for example, a self-made step sensor. One of the girls' father worked at the TV station of Syria, so we had a lot of old videotape, and videotape is conductive, but it has a resistance. So if you step on it on one step, then you have a different resistance than if you step on another position. So you can measure how far a person is walking. So we made all these carpets from videotape, and this was triggering certain sounds and animations in the space. And then we also did, for example, this kind of forest out of different wires with ping pong balls that had LEDs inside and stones. And if people were walking through it and they were touching, then the lights were going on and off. And it was a very beautiful, huge installation that was called Touch Me. And then we also had a different thing with interactive animations where people were seeing themselves as silhouettes and text attached to the silhouette, so they could play with it. Yeah, so it was a really great experience to collaborate with so many different people from a different culture. And when I tried to compare the workshops I gave, for example, in New York City and Damascus or Berlin, mostly they don't differ so much in what people produce with the technology once they are not so afraid of it anymore. The projects are much more influenced by the experience of working in a women or trans-only group, because this is a very rare thing. They're not afraid to ask questions. They're not afraid to ask the same question 10 times. They're not afraid to fail or look stupid because they know everyone is at the beginning and no one really has to do this. This is fun. And yeah, we just try to have a fearless environment for people to learn from each other, women to learn from each other. So I hope that in the future we will have a lot of places where we can establish practices of collaboration and establish spaces where we can learn fearlessly from each other. Thank you.